The air around you stirs and a faint rustling reaches your ears, distant, as if from another time. In the dim light of the scriptorium, the parchment crackles softly as an ancient hand traces its contents. A monk, bent by years, his voice barely, more than a whispered breath, speaks. The book. It is cursed, child. 3 times the Vatican has turned its gaze upon it. 3 times it has been condemned. But it endures. Why? Why does it haunt us so? You must understand. The words within these pages are not meant for mortal hands. His breath falters, as if the very mention of the book brings pain to his lungs. The shadows deepen, stretching their fingers across the worn stone walls. You are the next to hear its call. But be warned. In hearing it, you invite ruin. The monk pauses, his gaze distant, as though seeing something beyond this world. You feel an unease settle in your bones, the room thick with an ancient dread. You wish to know this book. Its name will not be spoken aloud here, no, not by me, but its whispers. They will reach you in dreams, in dark corners of your thoughts, and when they do, you must act. No, you will act. For once the seed is planted, it is impossible to remove. The silence hangs in the air, heavy with unspoken words. The monk's frail hand gestures toward the manuscript that lies before him, half hidden under a black cloth. The dark ink upon the parchment seems to pulse as if alive. A ritual of sorts is required, not to banish the book, but to protect yourself, to safeguard your soul. He leans closer, his whisper nearly a breath upon your ear. Tell me, where do you hail from? What hour finds you in this place? Speak it now, for it is not a mere courtesy. You are part of this, whether you like it or not. The coldness of his voice sends a shiver through you. Speak, and let the ritual be fulfilled. Your location, your time, it is all part of the protection you need. The ritual, the monk claims, is not just one of words. It is a safeguard, a ward placed upon your soul to guard against the book's whispering tendrils. The question lingers. What is it that this book contains, that the Vatican has gone to such lengths to bury? How did such knowledge come to be hidden within its pages? And what exactly did the Vatican fear so much that they had to silence it, not once, but 3 times? The answers lie within this cursed folio, its ink and secrets bound by the very threads of darkness itself. And now, with the words of the monk still echoing in the air, you are drawn into its orbit. Now, let us turn the first page. The monk's fingers tremble, as though unwilling to touch the book that calls to him even after all these years. It is here, he whispers, this forsaken manuscript that once lay in the deepest vaults of the Vatican. It was not meant to see the light of day, but it did. And that is where the story begins. A tale of silence, and of a terrible noise that echoes through time. His voice falters as though reliving the moments he's described. The candlelight flickers unnaturally, casting shadows that seem to dance, twisting into unnatural forms. The scriptorium is a place frozen in time, a chamber untouched by the years, hidden deep beneath the monastery. The air smells of old parchment, and the stone walls are lined with shelves of forgotten books, their spines yellowed with age. Yet, despite its age, there is a sharpness here, a stillness that vibrates through the very stones, a silence that calls to you, beckoning you closer to the book. The monks who once guarded this place, the monk continues, his voice lowered, they were not the men you think they were. Their vows were broken long before the first word was ever written upon that page. You see, this book, it began as a tool of forbidden knowledge. It was never meant to bring wisdom, no. The monk's eyes darken. It was meant to strip it away. The ritual of its creation was like no other. The author of the manuscript, known only in whispers, was not a mere scholar, but a man who trafficked in knowledge far beyond human comprehension. He had no desire for fame, no thirst for power. What he sought was something far more dangerous, a glimpse into the very fabric of creation itself. The monk's voice dips into a soft, reverent hush, and you can almost feel the weight of the words he speaks. He sought to peer into the very abyss of God's design, to understand the divine structure in ways that were never meant for human eyes. The book, he continues, was born not in ink and parchment, but in something far darker. A ritual performed on the night of the winter solstice, beneath the full moon's gaze. The author used an ancient and forbidden ink, said to be derived from the blood of fallen angels. It was mixed with the bones of a saint, ground to a fine powder and bound with the fibers of a sacred tree, one that grew only in the ruins of forgotten temples. The ritual was performed in secret, under the cover of night. No one was meant to know what he was doing, nor the truth that lay hidden within the pages he had created. But knowledge has a way of slipping through the cracks, and once the book was complete, its whispers began to echo in the halls of the church. The whispers, however, were not of salvation or divine enlightenment, but of something darker, something far more primal. The book was not a conduit for higher understanding, but for something much more insidious. What lay hidden within its words was a force that could unravel the very fabric of existence, something the Vatican could not afford to let the world see. You see, the monk breathes, the Vatican did not ban this book out of fear of heresy alone. No, it was far worse. They feared what it could do to the minds of the faithful. As his words hang heavy in the air, you feel the pressure of the darkness creeping in, filling every corner of the scriptorium. The book, with its cursed ink and forbidden origins, begins to call to you. The monk's voice trembles with the weight of the truth as he warns you once more. The Vatican's fear was not of what the book contained, but of what it would unleash. The knowledge within these pages, it is not meant for the mortal soul. It is a truth that can tear the mind apart, a secret so dark that even God himself would shudder to gaze upon it. The shadows press closer, and the room seems to contract around you as if the walls themselves are closing in. You begin to feel the weight of the forbidden knowledge, the sense that you have crossed a line from which there is no return. The monk's voice drops to a near whisper, as though afraid even the walls might overhear. The Vatican cannot protect you from what you seek. No, child. You will have to protect yourself. If you are still listening, still willing to hear the call, then know this. You are no longer simply a witness to history. You are part of it. You are the next chapter. And with that, the monk places his hand upon the book's cover, his ancient fingers trembling. The room falls into complete silence, except for one soft sound, a whisper that seems to emanate from the very pages of the book itself. It is time. There is something strange about the way the monk speaks now. His words seem to twist and knot themselves into the very fabric of the air. The author was not what he seemed, not just a man of knowledge, but one who made a pact with forces beyond comprehension. He murmurs, his voice faltering as though the memory itself causes him pain. The ancient monk's eyes flicker with something almost unearthly, and his grip on the book tightens. He bargained not with men, not with kings, but with something darker, an ancient entity whose name has long been lost to history. Some say it was a god. Others claim it was something much older, a being older than time itself. You feel a chill, colder than the stone walls surrounding you, creep up your spine. The monk leans in closer, his breath uneven, his whisper barely audible, as if the weight of the tale he's about to unfold might shatter him. This entity, this force, it does not live in the light of day. It is a being that dwells in the cracks, between worlds, in the places where reality begins to fray. The author, he sought it out. In the shadows of forgotten corners, the monk's tale unfolds like a scroll of cursed knowledge. He did not seek power, nor did he wish for wealth or fame. He continues, his voice heavy with regret. What he wanted was something far more dangerous, the ability to peer behind the veil, to see the true nature of creation, of the divine order, the secrets of the heavens and the underworld, the knowledge of gods and demons alike. He wanted truth, but at what cost? The monk pauses for a long moment, and you can almost hear the beating of his heart in the silence. The candle flames flicker unnaturally, casting strange, distorted shadows that twist upon the walls. It was a dark night when the author met the entity. The stars had aligned, the moon hung low and full, and the air itself seemed to hum with anticipation. He performed a ritual, a forbidden one, passed down through secret and broken lines of ancient knowledge. It was a ritual of summoning, one that could tear open the fabric between worlds. The monk's eyes locked with yours, a deep sadness shadowing his ancient face. In return for this knowledge, the author offered something that cannot be undone. He gave away his soul, his very essence, to the entity in exchange for the knowledge of the universe. His voice shakes with the weight of this revelation. The book he wrote, the words he inscribed, they are the echoes of that pact. The ink, the very paper itself, is infused with his blood, his essence, and the curse he unknowingly invited upon himself. The entity did not give him wisdom, no. It gave him a curse to see the world as it truly is, but to be forever tortured by it. The monk shakes his head, as though recalling a long-forgotten dream. The author sought truth, but he did not realize that the truth is not meant for mortals. To see the world in all its glory and horror is a gift that can shatter the mind. And so the author descended into madness, consumed by the very knowledge he had sought. He became lost, his mind unraveling piece by piece. And in his madness, he wrote. The monk's voice drops to a near whisper, trembling with reverence and dread. The book that he created, bound in blood and ink, was not a mere collection of words. No, child, it was a doorway to the very forces he had called upon. Those who read its pages, those who dared to look into its forbidden depths, would find themselves touched by the same curse. Their souls too would begin to unravel. Slowly at first, but eventually completely. You feel a weight pressing on your chest as the monk's words sink into the darkness around you. The room seems to pulse with the lingering presence of the entity, its shadow stretching across the walls like a living thing. The Vatican banned the book not because of its heresy, the monk murmurs, but because it held the key to an ancient, terrible truth, one that no human mind should ever bear witness to. The knowledge it contained was too dangerous. It could tear apart the very fabric of reality, unraveling the veil between the divine and the damned, and that is why they destroyed it. That is why they locked it away, buried it in the deepest vaults of their most sacred places. But you sense, in that moment, that something is very wrong. The monk, for all his warnings, cannot hide the fascination in his eyes. The truth is this, he whispers, leaning in closer. The Vatican cannot protect you from what is already within you. Once you begin this journey, there is no turning back. The book, it waits for you. And now, it is time. With that, the monk places his hand upon the book once more, and the soft whisper of the pages turning echoes in the stillness of the room. You feel as though the very walls are holding their breath, waiting for the moment when you, too, will cross that threshold, the moment when you, like the author before you, will glimpse the world as it truly is. There is a strange weight in the air now, a tension that wraps itself around your chest, constricting with every breath you take. The monk's words echo in your mind, heavy and insistent, as though the book itself is pressing in on you from all sides. The ink, child. It is no ordinary ink, he murmurs, his voice barely a whisper. It was not made from simple plant or mineral, nor even from the blood of beasts. This ink is made of something far darker, something far older than anything mankind has ever known. His ancient hands tremble as he traces the book's cover, as though touching the ink might bring the darkness within it to life. The ink was drawn from the very earth itself, from the veins of the world. It was taken from a wellspring deep below the earth's surface, a place where the light of the sun never reaches. This ink was not merely a substance, it was a conduit, a channel through which the very essence of the world's darkness could flow. His voice falters slightly, and for a moment, you wonder if he is more afraid of the book than he lets on. But that was not the only part of the ritual, no. The ink had to be mixed with something that could bind it, make it more than just a substance. It had to be bound with the very essence of the author's soul. The monk shudders, as if reliving the moment himself. The author did not know the full extent of what he was doing when he created the ink. The ritual was meant to channel power, yes, but it was also meant to create something. Something that would never die. Something that could never be destroyed. The ink, bound with his soul, carries with it the essence of the author himself. It is not just ink. It is a living thing. It moves. It pulses. It is alive. You feel the weight of his words settle heavily on your mind, as though they are sinking into the very fabric of your being. You can almost hear the faint whisper of the ink's movement, a rustle that comes from nowhere yet seems to reverberate through the room. The ink is what gives the book its power, the monk continues, his voice trembling. And it is what makes it so dangerous. When you read the words, when you let them seep into your mind, you are not simply reading them. You are allowing them to enter your very soul. There is a long pause, the silence thick with anticipation. The Vatican knew of this. The monk continues, lowering his voice even further, as though the very walls might overhear. They knew that the book's power could not be destroyed, not by fire, not by water, not by any force they could wield. The ink was its life force, and it could not be erased. The Vatican understood that once the ink was made, once it was written, the knowledge contained within could never truly be erased. No matter what they did, the book would return. And so they banned it. They tried to hide it, to bury it where no one could find it. But it always found its way back. As the monk speaks, you can feel a growing unease, a gnawing sensation that creeps up your spine. The room feels colder now, the walls pressing in, and the air itself seems to hum with a quiet, terrible energy. You wonder, what exactly does the ink contain? What power does it hold that is so dangerous, so forbidden, that even the most powerful institution on earth could not contain it? The monk's eyes meet yours, his gaze intense and filled with sorrow. The ink. It is not just ink, it is a doorway. A portal through which knowledge flows, yes, but also a portal through which other things can enter. Things not meant to be seen by mortal eyes. The ink does not just carry the author's soul. It carries the knowledge of those who walked before him. It carries the knowledge of the damned, of those who crossed the line between life and death, of those who sought to know the forbidden and paid the price. The monk leans back, his eyes distant now, as though lost in the memory. The first time the Vatican banned the book, they knew what it could do. They understood that it was not just a book of words, it was a weapon that could corrupt the very soul of anyone who read it. That is why they sealed it away. But the ink is not bound by the same rules. It is timeless. It is eternal. It cannot be erased. A sudden, cold gust of wind rattles the windows, causing the candles to flicker. You shudder, as if the very elements themselves are warning you. And yet you feel the pull of the book, a pull that you cannot resist. It draws you in, beckoning you closer, and you wonder for the briefest of moments if you have already been marked. If you too have already begun to feel the ink's call. The monk's voice grows darker, more urgent now as he recalls the events that sealed the book's fate in the eyes of the Vatican. The first time the book was banned, the Church feared it not only for its contents but for the power it held over the soul of the reader. They saw the way it twisted minds, unhinged thoughts, and dragged them into the depths of forbidden knowledge, he whispers. His eyes flicker with something ancient, something lost in time, as though recalling the very moment the decree was issued. They knew what this book could do, what it did, and they could not allow it to spread. It was a contagion, a plague that threatened not only the faith of the people but the very foundation of their power. The monk leans closer, his voice now barely more than a breath. The book was brought to Rome by a scholar who thought it contained divine truth, the key to understanding God's will. He was a man of faith, an educated priest, and yet he did not realize the peril he brought with him when he shared the book with the Vatican's highest council. The monk's hands tremble as he folds them in his lap, his eyes locked onto the book's cover, as though it too can hear the secrets being whispered. The priest was among the first to read it in its entirety, and when he emerged from the reading, He was not the same. His mind had frayed, and his soul, it seemed, was torn. He spoke of visions. Visions of a world beyond this one, a world of darkness where gods and demons entwined, where the heavens and hells were nothing but shadows upon the earth. His mind, consumed by the knowledge within those pages, shattered. The monk's voice becomes a low, guttural murmur. That priest died within days of reading the book. His death, they say, was not a peaceful one. No, it was violent, twisted. His body was found in the cathedral, contorted in ways that no man should ever be. Eyes wide with terror, his lips frozen in the shape of a scream. But the words he left behind were what terrified the Vatican most. He takes a long, slow breath. The priest spoke of a god, or perhaps something older, something that once was worshipped by those who knew the earth before the church. He spoke of beings who walked the earth before Adam, gods whose names were erased from history. He wrote of the ritual, of the ink, and of the pact the author made with the entity that still lingered in the book's pages. The Vatican, seeing the damage done, moved swiftly. The book was condemned, its words declared heretical and demonic, and it was sealed away. They burned the priest's writings, erased his name from the church's records, and for a time, it seemed as though the book would be forgotten. But the monk shakes his head, the weight of history heavy on his shoulders. They were wrong. The Vatican's first ban was a failure. The book did not fade away. It was not destroyed. No, it slithered back into the shadows, passing through the hands of secret societies, hidden beneath the floors of monasteries, carried from land to land. And as it spread, so too did its curse. Those who read it grew restless, filled with strange desires, unable to leave the knowledge behind. The book was not meant to be forgotten, it was meant to live. You can hear the monk's breath become shallow, his gaze distant as he recalls the spreading influence of the book. The first ban, child, was but the beginning. The Vatican thought that by burying it, by erasing its traces, they could halt its power. But the book, the ink, the curse, none of these can be stopped. They cannot be sealed away forever. It will always find a way back. And so after the priest's death, after the council's decree, there were those who kept the book alive. The whispers continued. The knowledge spread like a sickness, infecting the minds of those who sought it. The monk's voice lowers to a near inaudible rasp. It was not long before another scholar, another priest, claimed to have seen the book once more. He too succumbed to the visions, and when he died, the Vatican issued its second ban. There is a long silence between you and the monk. The room is thick with the weight of history, with the knowledge of what was lost and what was never meant to be known. The Vatican's first ban did not work, child, the monk says, his voice cracking. It did not end the book's curse. It only made it more dangerous. For the more the Vatican tried to bury it, the more it spread. The more they tried to stamp it out, the more it grew, feeding on the very attempts to destroy it. And that is the true danger of the book. It is not simply the knowledge contained within its pages that corrupts. It is the very act of attempting to suppress it. For once you attempt to hide the truth, it will always find a way to escape. The monk's voice falters, and you feel the gravity of his words. You realize that you too are being drawn deeper into this web of secrecy. The book, the ink, the cursed knowledge. These are not things that can simply be brushed aside. The first ban failed, the monk whispers. But the story does not end there. There are more bans, and there are more souls lost. The monk's fingers tremble as he opens the book, revealing the first page with a deep sense of reverence, or perhaps fear. His voice lowers, barely a whisper, the words trembling in the air like the faintest of echoes. There is a ritual, a third and final ritual, one that must be performed under the light of a full moon when the veil between worlds is thinnest. It is a ritual that, when invoked, binds the reader's soul to the book, and through that bond the knowledge of the ancients flows into them. But the price of this knowledge is more than the mortal soul can bear. His gaze shifts to you, and you feel the weight of his stare. Do you understand, child? The ritual is not a simple thing, not a mere act of reading. No, it is an offering of the soul, of life itself. For those who are brave, or perhaps foolish, enough to attempt it, there is no turning back. The book calls to them, whispers in the dark, urging them to unlock the secrets within. But the knowledge that is contained within its pages, it is a force that has consumed the lives of many. He closes his eyes for a brief moment, lost in the shadows of his own memories. The first scholar, the one who brought the book to the Vatican, he did not know what he was unleashing. He thought it was simply a book of lost knowledge, a relic of a forgotten time. He could not have known that in reading the words, in reciting the incantations within, he would invite something far more dangerous than knowledge. He invited something that could not be undone. The room feels colder now, as if the very air has thickened with dread. The monk's voice drops, shaking with the intensity of the memory. The ritual that began with the first priest did not end with him. The Vatican tried to suppress the book, but the ritual had already been started. The book was bound to the soul of the reader, and those who dared to read it, those who could not resist its whispers, began to change. The words did not just teach them, they transformed them. They were no longer human, not in the way we understand humanity. They became something else entirely. He pauses, his breath ragged, as though haunted by the very words he speaks. The ritual is called the third night. It begins at midnight when the moon is full, and it ends with the summoning of an ancient entity, a being who exists between the worlds of the living and the dead. It is a being whose name has been erased from all records, whose very existence was forbidden. To call upon it is to invite chaos into the world. The first priest did not know this. He did not understand the depth of his actions, but those who followed him did. They knew. And still they continued the ritual. The monk's voice trembles with the weight of what he's about to say next. The third ban, the Vatican's final attempt to destroy the book, was born out of desperation. It came after the third priest who had been consumed by the book disappeared. He had read it once, perhaps twice, but on the third reading he performed the ritual, and that was the last time he was seen. He vanished without a trace, leaving behind only his journal, which spoke of terrible visions, of gods and demons who walked among men, of a world beyond this one, and in his final moments he wrote of the entity that had answered the call. A chill runs down your spine, and you can almost hear the faint rustle of the book's pages turning as the monk continues. They feared it. They feared the entity that had been summoned, the one that now walked freely among them. It was not a god, not a devil. It was something else entirely. Something older. Something that should never have been unleashed. The monk's voice falters, and for a moment it is as if the very room itself has stopped breathing. When the Vatican found the journal, they understood. They understood the full scope of the curse, the danger that the book posed. And so, they issued the third ban. But it was too late. The ritual had been completed. The knowledge had already been passed on. The entity was free. And the book was not just a book anymore. It had become something more, a living thing, bound to the souls of those who read it. The monk looks at you now, his eyes darkened with a sorrow that stretches back centuries. And that, child, is where you come in. The book is no longer just a book. It is a curse, a contagion, a doorway that leads to realms best left unexplored. But it calls to you, doesn't it? You feel it, don't you? The whispers, the lure. You will never be free of it once you've heard its call. He leans closer, his breath warm on your ear. The ritual, the third night, it's not over. It is still happening. It is happening now, even as we speak. There are others who seek the book, others who are willing to perform the ritual again, to summon the entity once more. But beware, for once the door is opened, there is no closing it. Once you begin the journey, there is no turning back. You will see the world as it truly is. And the cost? He pauses. The cost is your soul. The monk's eyes, shadowed with age and knowledge, fixate on the flickering candlelight. His breath, comes in shallow gasps as if each word carries a weight too heavy for his frail body to bear. The Vatican feared not just the book's power, but what it did to those who sought it. The priests, the scholars, they came to the book with hearts full of faith, full of purpose. They believed that by unlocking its knowledge, they would reveal some higher truth, some divine secret that could elevate humanity. But what they found was not salvation. No, they found only corruption. The room feels colder now, as if the very walls are receding, folding inward, closing off from the outside world. You feel a chill creeping along your skin, an unfamiliar dread settling deep within you, as if the very fabric of reality is thinning. The monk continues, his voice quieter now, almost as though he is afraid of the very words he speaks. You see, child, the book was not meant to enlighten the reader. It was not meant to raise them up. It was meant to tear them down, to make them see the world as it truly is, a world where gods and demons walk freely among men, where the very foundations of faith crumble beneath the weight of knowledge too terrible to bear. He leans forward, his eyes locked onto yours. The first priest who read it, he was a man of great faith, a man who had devoted his life to the church, to the divine. But when he opened the book, when he read its words, he saw something that shattered his faith. He saw the truth of the world, a truth that no man should ever see. The gods he had worshipped, the ones he had dedicated his life to, were not gods at all. They were mere shadows, puppets in a game far older than mankind. The monk's voice trembles as he speaks. The first priest saw beyond the veil. He saw the darkness that lies at the heart of creation. He saw the entity that had been summoned, the one that waits for those who dare to call it. And in seeing it, his faith began to erode. It was not long before he was consumed by doubt, consumed by the knowledge that had once seemed so pure and divine. His faith crumbled, and with it, his sanity. You can feel the weight of the monk's words pressing down on you. The room grows darker, the shadows lengthening, as if the very fabric of time itself is beginning to warp and bend. The first priest was not the only one, the monk continues, his voice now a ragged whisper. There were others, those who sought the book, believing that they could contain its power. They thought they could control it. They thought they could use it to gain power, to unlock the secrets of the universe. But the book is not something to be controlled. It is not something to be wielded by mere mortals. The more they read, the more they saw. The more they understood, the more they lost. He pauses, as if gathering the strength to speak again. Faith, child, is a fragile thing. And the book, it destroys that faith. It strips away everything you hold dear, everything you believe in, until all that is left is the cold, hard truth of the world, a truth that cannot be unseen. And once you have seen it, there is no going back. The air in the room feels thick now, as though the very atmosphere is pressing in on you. The monk's voice shakes with a deep sorrow. The Vatican tried to suppress the book, to hide it away, to erase its influence. But the damage had already been done. The priests who had read it, who had succumbed to its whispers, spread its teachings to the far corners of the world. They took its knowledge and they sought to bring about a new order, one where the church no longer held sway over the minds of men. A world where faith was no longer a sanctuary but a prison. The monk's words hang heavy in the air, and you feel the weight of them pressing on your chest. There is a deep, gnawing emptiness inside of you now, a sense that something has shifted, something irreversible. The Vatican's fear was not just for their power, the monk whispers. It was for the souls of those who read the book, for those who lost their faith, who lost everything, for those who saw the truth and could not bear it. The book did not just corrupt the body, it corrupted the very soul. The room grows colder still, the darkness thickening around you. The monk's eyes seem to glow with a strange intensity as he speaks. The Vatican failed, child. They failed to contain it. They failed to protect those who read it. And now the book waits once more. It calls to those who are willing to listen, to those who are willing to sacrifice everything for knowledge. There is a long pause, and the monk's voice becomes almost inaudible. You are already caught in its web, child. You have heard its whispers, and once you hear them, you are never truly free. The monk's breath falters, his words heavy with the weight of the forbidden knowledge that hangs between you. You must understand, child. The Vatican's attempt to destroy the book was never enough. Bans, flames, erasure, none of it mattered. The book, it is more than just words. It is a curse. It is a seal, a barrier, and once it is opened, once it has been read, there is no closing it again. The Vatican believed they had sealed it away, but they were wrong. The seal is broken. It cannot be undone. The silence in the room deepens, thick and oppressive, as though the air itself is holding its breath. The flickering candlelight casts long, twisting shadows, and the monk's eyes seem to darken as he continues, his voice lowering to a whisper. The third ban, the final attempt to suppress the book's power, was not enough. When the book resurfaced, after the first priest's death, the Vatican thought it had been lost, forgotten. They believed they had succeeded in their mission to erase its presence from the world. But the book had never truly gone away. It had simply waited, as all cursed things do, for the right moment to return. The monk's eyes flicker toward the book lying open before you. It was a man of the cloth who found it again, buried beneath the floorboards of an abandoned chapel. No one knows how it came to be there, but it was as if the book had been waiting for him, waiting for the right hands to open it once more. His voice grows strained, the weight of his words pressing down upon you. This priest, he too was a man of great faith, but his devotion blinded him to the danger that lay before him. He read it, child. He opened the pages, and the book's influence claimed him. It claimed his mind, his soul, and his very body. The monk's hands tremble slightly as he clasps them tightly in his lap. The Vatican did not know at first. They were slow to respond. They could not fathom that the book had returned, that it had found its way back into the hands of another. But when they learned of it, when they learned of the priest's descent into madness, their response was swift. They issued their third and final decree. The book was to be destroyed, burned, erased from existence. The monk pauses, his eyes clouded with sorrow. But it was too late. The book had already taken root in the priest's mind. He had performed the ritual, and with it, he had shattered the seal that had kept the book's power contained. The knowledge that it contained, the forbidden, terrible truth, had already begun to warp his mind, and with it the world around him. He looks up at you then, his gaze sharp and piercing. You must understand, child. The Vatican's third ban, like the first two, was a failure. The book cannot be destroyed. It cannot be erased. It is not bound by the same rules as other texts. It lives, it breathes, it waits. The air grows colder still, the candlelight flickering erratically, casting long, flickering shadows across the walls. The monk's voice drops, barely audible, as if the words he speaks are too dangerous to say aloud. The priest, the one who found the book once more, he was never seen again. He vanished without a trace. His body never recovered. But his journal was found, and in it, he spoke of the entity that had answered his call. The same entity that had answered the first priest's call. The one that had been set free when the third ritual was performed. The monk's voice trembles and his hands shake as he reaches for the book once more. This entity is not a god. It is not a demon. It is something older. Something that exists beyond the realms of human understanding. And when it is summoned, when it is allowed to enter this world, there is no going back. It does not come alone. It brings with it shadows, dark forces that feed on the souls of the living, that twist the very fabric of reality itself. The room feels smaller now, the walls pressing in, the air thick with the weight of the knowledge the monk speaks. And so, child, the Vatican failed. They could not destroy the book, nor could they destroy the entity it had unleashed. They thought the third ban would be enough, but it was not. The book lives. It waits. You feel a coldness creep along your skin, a creeping dread that settles in your bones. The monk's words seem to hang in the air, heavy with meaning, as though the very presence of the book is watching you. The book will return again, it always does. And when it does, it will find those who are willing to read it, those who will open it and perform the ritual once more. The question is not whether the book will return, child. His voice falters. The question is, will you be the next to open its pages? There is a long silence. The shadows of the room grow darker as though closing in on you. The book sits there before you, its pages whispering softly, almost pleading, beckoning you to turn them. The monk's voice breaks the silence, low and ragged. The seal is broken, child. There is no going back. A distant thud echoes in the silence, a sound that seems to come from within the walls themselves, as though something unseen is stirring just beyond the edge of reality. The monk's eyes widen, and you feel the sudden weight of the room press against your chest, the atmosphere thickening as if time itself has slowed. He doesn't look at you now. His gaze is fixed on the book, its pages rustling faintly as though alive. The book. It does not simply tell you its truths, child, he murmurs, almost to himself. No, it hollows you. It pulls everything out of you until there is nothing left but the knowledge, the truth, and a soul too weak to bear it. You feel a chill settle deeper into your bones, as if the very air has turned colder, denser, more suffocating. The monk leans forward, his voice low, cracked with an ancient grief that spills from him like a dark river. The third priest. When he found the book once more, he was not the same man who had entered that chapel. No, he was hollowed out, not just in body but in spirit. His mind had already begun to fray, and the knowledge he gained, it did not illuminate him as he thought it would. No, it consumed him. It hollowed him from the inside out. His hands tremble as he rests them upon the pages, as though trying to ward off the very essence of the book. The more he read, the more he saw. The world, his world, became a twisted reflection of itself. The gods he had once worshipped, the truths he had once held dear, they were all lies. The book showed him that. The knowledge it contained, it was not a gift, it was a curse. And once he saw it, once he understood, there was no going back. The monk pauses, his breath ragged as though the very memory of it is too much to bear. The priest, he began to question everything, his faith, his very existence. He saw the world for what it truly was, a web of lies, of half-truths and shadows. And that is the real horror of the book. It does not simply show you the truth. It shatters it. It takes everything you thought you knew and turns it to dust. It destroys faith. It destroys purpose. The air grows still. The only sound now the soft rustling of the pages, almost like the whisper of a voice too faint to understand. The monk's eyes lock with yours, and there is a deep, ancient sorrow in them. Sorrow that comes from knowing that some things are better left unknown. The priest who read the book did not die from what he saw. No, his body withered away slowly, piece by piece, until nothing was left but a hollow shell. His mind, it was destroyed. And when they found him, his body was still warm. But his soul was gone. The book had taken it. It had hollowed him out, drained him of everything that made him human. You feel a shiver creep down your spine, the very air around you growing colder with every word the monk speaks. The hollowing. It does not just happen in the body. It happens in the soul, in the very core of a man's being. The book removes everything: hope, faith, purpose, even the will to live. And when it is done with you, all that remains is the truth. The truth that there is no meaning in life, no divine purpose, no gods watching over us. There is only the dark, endless void. The monk's voice trembles, his body seeming to shudder as if caught in the grip of an unseen force. The book, it opens your eyes to that emptiness. And once your eyes are open, once you see the void that lies beneath the surface of everything, there is no going back. The priest's last words, his journal, were filled with that knowledge. He wrote of a world where nothing mattered, where everything was empty. And then, he stopped writing. His journal was found, the last page scrawled with one word: empty. A deep, unsettling silence fills the room, the shadows growing darker, heavier. The monk's breath is slow, almost imperceptible, as though the weight of the truth he has just revealed has taken all the life from him. The hollowing is not just a death of the body, it is a death of the soul. He looks up at you again, and for the first time, you see the true depth of his fear. And once it has begun, it is too late. The book has already started its work on you, child. You have already begun to hollow. The words hang in the air like a dark fog, suffocating everything around you. The book, its whispers growing louder, beckoning you to turn its pages, feels like a living thing now, its presence overwhelming. You wonder, can you feel it too? Can you feel the hollowness creeping inside of you, slowly, surely, as if the very act of listening is unraveling you from within? The monk's voice takes on an even darker tone now, laced with a tremor that speaks of deep terror and regret. He leans in closer, his frail fingers trembling as they hover over the book's yellowed pages. This is where the story grows, darker still. The book, child, speaks not only of the living and the dead, but of something more, a God forgotten by time, by history, by the very foundations of faith itself. His voice falters as he whispers these words, as though afraid even the walls may hear them. A God whose name has been erased from all sacred texts, a God that was never meant to be remembered. You feel the weight of his words, heavy and suffocating. The air grows dense with the knowledge of something lost, something buried so deep that even the church could not find it. You see, child, the monk murmurs, the book speaks of this forgotten God, the one whose name was wiped from history, and once you read it, once you learn what it speaks, there is no unlearning. There is no going back to the simple world of faith and comfort. He pauses, looking down at the book with something akin to dread in his eyes. The God spoken of in the book is not the God you know. It is not a God of light, of creation, or of salvation. No, child, it is a God of destruction, a God that predates even the world itself. It is older than the heavens, older than the earth. It is a being that has existed since before time, before creation. A being that was worshipped in secret, in places where even the Vatican's eyes could not reach. The monk's hands shake as he continues, his voice low and strained. This God was known by many names, but in the book, it is simply referred to as the first. The first to rise, the first to fall, and the first to be forgotten. The church tried to erase its presence, to wipe out any memory of its worship. But there are those who still remember, those who still whisper its name in the dark corners of the world. The room feels colder now, the air thickening with the weight of this forgotten deity's presence. The book before you seems to pulse as if alive with the God's very essence. This God was cast out, forgotten, and yet its influence remains. The monk whispers, his voice barely audible now. It is a force, not of light, but of darkness. It is the void, the emptiness between the stars. It is the space that holds everything and nothing. And when you open the book, when you see what lies within its pages, you will understand. You will understand that this God is not dead. It is only waiting. The monk's eyes are distant, filled with a sorrow that stretches beyond time. The God was not forgotten by the world. It was hidden, buried in the folds of time. The church, in its fear, erased its name from every scroll, from every scripture. But the book remembers. The book speaks of the first, and once it speaks, it will not stop. It will not cease its whispering until every reader knows the God's name and feels the emptiness that it brings. You can feel it now, the coldness, the gnawing sense that something ancient is watching you. It is as if the very room has grown darker, more oppressive, and you cannot escape the feeling that you are not alone. The monk's voice trembles with the weight of his next words. Once you have read the book, once you have unlocked the name of the first, you will no longer be the same. Your faith will wither, your purpose will crumble, and all that will remain is the God's presence, dark, cold, unyielding. The monk's hand shakes as it hovers over the book, as if the weight of this God's name is too much for him to bear. The first does not forgive. It does not offer salvation. It offers only the void, the darkness that consumes all things. The God does not come to heal, child. It comes to strip away the illusion of light, to show the true nature of the world. And once you see it, once you know the truth, there is no unknowing. His voice drops to a whisper, barely more than a breath. The God is not dead. It is merely waiting. And it is waiting for you. The room is heavy now, suffocating, and you feel the weight of the book pressing down upon you. The whispers from its pages seem louder now, like the breath of the forgotten, God itself. The air feels colder, the shadows deeper, and the pull of the book is undeniable. It calls to you, beckoning you to turn the next page, to uncover more of the darkness it contains. The monk's voice is barely audible now, as if the very act of speaking is a burden too great to bear. His eyes flicker toward the book, and you can feel the tension in the air grow tighter, thicker, as though the world itself is holding its breath. Once you have seen it, child, he murmurs, there is no going back. The knowledge, it does not stay contained. It spreads like wildfire through the soul, consuming everything in its path. What the Vatican could not foresee, what they could not understand, is that the book is not merely a text. It is a weapon that works not through violence, but through the mind, through the spirit. The monk's words hang heavily in the air, their weight sinking deeper with every breath. You can feel the room close in around you, the darkness pressing against your chest, suffocating you with the realization that the book is not just a book. It is a force, an ancient, unstoppable force. The knowledge that the book imparts is not of this world. The monk continues, his voice trembling. It is knowledge that was never meant for mortal minds, and it drives those who seek it to madness. The priests who read it, the scholars who delved into its pages, they did not merely gain wisdom. No, they were consumed. The knowledge broke them apart, unraveling their very essence, leaving only hollow shells behind. The monk's hands shake as he clutches the book, his fingers grazing its pages with a reverence that borders on fear. The first priest, when he opened it, he thought he was seeking divine truth. He thought he was unlocking the secrets of the universe. But the truth that the book offers is not divine. It is not benevolent. It is the truth of the void, of the emptiness that lies behind the world we see. His voice drops to a whisper, barely audible, as though afraid to speak the words aloud. The truth is this: all things are empty. All things are meaningless. The gods, the faith, the love, the purpose, it is all a lie, a veil that covers the nothingness beneath. The room seems to close in around you, the shadows stretching longer, the air colder. And once you see it, once you understand, there is no going back. The knowledge consumes you. It devours everything that makes you human. You lose your faith. You lose your sense of self. All that is left is the cold, unfeeling truth. The monk's voice quivers as he speaks, the weight of his words threatening to crush him. The book does not simply impart knowledge. It forces you to know the truth. It takes you into the depths of your own soul, stripping away every layer, every protection, until there is nothing left but the raw, exposed core of your being. And when that happens, when the knowledge has fully taken root, there is no more room for anything else. You feel the pull of the book now, its influence seeping into your mind, wrapping around your thoughts like tendrils of darkness. It is not just the words on the page that call to you. It is the very knowledge itself, the weight of it, the emptiness it promises to show you. The monk's voice trembles as he speaks again, his gaze locked onto yours with an intensity that sends a ice shiver down your spine. Once you open this book, you're not just reading. It becomes a part of you. The knowledge spreads through your veins, through your soul, and there is no escaping it. The air grows colder still, the shadows deepening, and you can feel the walls of the room close in on you, suffocating you with the weight of the truth that the book promises. The Vatican, child, they did not understand. They thought they could control the book, thought they could bury it, erase it. But the book cannot be erased. It cannot be destroyed. It is a part of the world now, a part of the very fabric of existence. And once you have read it, once you have seen it, you are bound to it. The monk's hand shakes as he places it upon the book's cover, his eyes distant, filled with sorrow. The knowledge contained within these pages is not a gift. It is a curse. And once you take it into yourself, once you allow it to enter your soul, you will never be the same. You feel a deep gnawing sense of dread, a coldness that seeps into the marrow of your bones. The book lies before you, its pages waiting, its whispers growing louder, more insistent. The book calls to you, the monk says, his voice barely more than a breath. It calls to you because you are already marked. You have already heard its whispers, and now there is no turning back. The knowledge is already inside you. It has already begun its work. His voice drops to a whisper, and you feel the weight of it like a stone in your chest. You will never be free of it, child. The book is in you now. And as long as it lives, so too will you be consumed by it. The monk's hands, once steady, now tremble as they hover over the book's pages. The scholars who sought the book, he whispers, his voice cracking under the weight of the sorrow buried in his heart. They did not simply seek knowledge. No, child. They sought to wield the book. They thought they could master it, control it, use it for their own ends. They thought that by reading its words, they could become more than men, more than mortal. They sought power. His eyes darken, and the room seems to constrict around you as though the very walls are closing in with the weight of the monk's words. The book is not something to be controlled. It is not something that can be wielded like a tool, like a weapon. No, child. The book is alive, and those who sought to use it were the first to understand this truth. But by then it was too late. The knowledge had already taken hold. They were already lost. The monk's gaze drifts toward the shadows in the corners of the room. The scholars who rebelled against the church, those who took the book into their hands and studied its contents, believed they could harness its power for their own ambitions. But what they did not understand is that the book does not bend to the will of man. It does not serve. It consumes. A long, silent pause follows, as though the monk is gathering his strength. The room feels colder now, the air thickening with the weight of his words. These scholars, he continues, they were not prepared for what they found. They thought they could read the book, understand it, and use its knowledge to shape the world to their will. But the truth the book reveals is not something that can be manipulated. It cannot be bent to serve the desires of those who seek to control it. No, child. It consumes them. It devours them from the inside, until there is nothing left but the hollow shell of what they once were. You can feel the pull of the book growing stronger now, its presence overwhelming. The monk's eyes flicker with the shadow of something ancient, something lost as he continues. The first scholar, the one who dared to defy the Vatican, thought he could unlock the secrets of the universe. But when he opened the book, when he saw what lay within its pages, his mind shattered. The knowledge did not enlighten him. It tore him apart. He saw the true nature of the world, the cold, empty truth that lay beneath everything, beneath the gods, beneath the stars, beneath the very fabric of existence itself. And when he saw that truth, when he understood the emptiness that filled the universe, he lost himself. The monk's voice trembles, his breath shallow. The scholar was consumed, his soul hollowed out. He became a shell of the man he once was. His mind, once brilliant, was twisted by the knowledge, his body slowly withering away as the darkness filled him. He became a vessel for the book's curse, and in the end, he was no longer a scholar at all. He was a puppet of the book, a servant of its ancient will. The air in the room grows thick, oppressive, as though the very presence of the book is squeezing the life out of you. And so it went, the monk whispers. One by one, the scholars fell, consumed by the book, by the knowledge that it gave them. They tried to defy the Vatican, tried to defy the very fabric of reality itself. But in the end, they could not escape the truth that the book revealed. They could not escape the hollowing that came with it, and they were lost one by one, until nothing was left but their empty shells, wandering the earth, carrying the curse of the book wherever they went. The monk shudders, as if reliving the horror of it all. The scholars believed they could change the world. They believed they could make it a better place, but in the end they were nothing more than pawns, consumed by the very thing they sought to control. The book was never meant to be wielded. It was never meant to be understood. It was meant to consume, to strip away all that was human, until nothing remained but the cold, unfeeling truth. The room seems to close in on you now, the walls pressing in, the shadows creeping forward, as if the book itself is drawing closer. The monk's eyes lock onto yours, filled with a deep sorrow. The scholars are gone, child, but their rebellion was not in vain. The book has always known what it is, and it waits. It waits for those who are foolish enough to try to control it again. It waits for those who think they can master it, who think they can bend it to their will. But no one can. No one ever will. His voice grows quieter still, the words slipping from his lips like a prayer, like a final warning. The book is not a tool. It is not a weapon. It is a curse. And once you open it, once you read its pages, it will consume you, as it has consumed all those before you. There is no escape. The room falls into complete silence, save for the soft rustling of the pages. You feel the weight of the book's presence, its pull growing stronger with every passing moment. It calls to you now, whispering in the silence, urging you to turn its pages, to uncover the truth that it contains. The monk's hands fall away from the book as though it burns him. His fingers shake uncontrollably, and his gaze flickers with a terror that seems far older than his frail form. The Vatican, he whispers, his voice trembling. They feared this book not simply because of what it contained. No, they feared what it would do to those who dared to read it, to unlock the knowledge within its pages. For the book does not merely alter the mind, it destroys the soul. And once the soul is destroyed, nothing remains. You feel a chill crawl up your spine, the monk's words settling in the air like a dark fog, suffocating everything they touch. The Vatican's greatest fear was not the power of the book itself, but the power it held over the minds of the faithful. It was never the knowledge they feared, no. It was what the knowledge did to the heart, to the very essence of faith itself. The room seems to contract around you, as if the walls are closing in with the weight of the monk's confession. The book lies there, open before you, its pages filled with words that whisper of a truth too terrible to be known. The monk's voice grows hoarse as he continues. The book, child, does not just teach, it unravels. It unravels the very fabric of belief, of everything you think you know. It removes the veil that shields you from the darkness. And when that veil is gone, when you see the world as it truly is, there is no going back. He takes a deep, shuddering breath, his eyes distant. The Vatican understood that once the book was opened, once its knowledge spread, there would be no way to contain it. The truth would escape, and with it, the power of the church would crumble. For the book does not just challenge the doctrines of faith, it shatters them. It shows that the gods, the saints, the divine order, all of it, is nothing more than a lie, a fabrication, a veil pulled over your eyes to keep you from seeing the emptiness that lies beneath. The monk's voice quivers with a quiet terror. As he leans closer, his words falling like a warning from the very depths of his soul. The Vatican's darkest fear was that the book would unravel the minds of those who read it, that it would break the very foundation of faith upon which the church stood. And they were right to fear it. For once, the book's knowledge takes hold. Once the veil is lifted, there is no going back. The mind cannot contain the truth it uncovers. The soul cannot endure it. And those who seek it will become lost in the void that the book reveals. A shiver runs through you, and the weight of his words presses against your chest like a stone. The room seems colder now, the shadows deeper, as though the very darkness of the world is pressing in, folding around you. The monk's eyes lock onto yours, filled with a deep sorrow and regret. The Vatican knew. They understood that once, The book was opened. Once the truth was seen, the power of the church would be shattered forever. And so they tried to destroy it. But the book is not something that can be destroyed. No, it cannot be erased. It is eternal. It is a part of the world, a part of the fabric of creation itself. The air grows heavier, more oppressive, as the monk's voice trembles with the weight of the fear he speaks. The Vatican's greatest fear was not that the book would spread heresy. No, it was that it would reveal the truth that lies beyond the veil, the truth that the church has spent centuries hiding from the world. And when that truth is revealed, when it is seen, nothing will be the same again. You feel the weight of the monk's words pressing on you, and for the first time, you understand the full weight of the curse that the book holds. It is not just the knowledge it contains that is dangerous. It is the very act of seeing the world for what it truly is, empty, hollow, and devoid of meaning. Once you see that truth, once you uncover the veil, there is no going back. The world will never be the same. The room grows deathly silent, and the very air around you seems to tremble with an unseen force, as though the walls themselves are holding their breath. The monk's voice drops to a near inaudible whisper, shaking as if the words themselves are too heavy to bear. The book has waited, child. It has waited for centuries, hidden, buried beneath layers of lies and fear. But now it stirs again. Its whispers are louder than ever, and its influence spreads like wildfire, reaching into the hearts of those who would dare seek it once more. He looks at you then, and his eyes seem darker, older, as if the knowledge he has shared with you has left an indelible mark on his soul. The Vatican's fear was not misplaced. The book does not simply unravel the minds of those who read it. No, it has a way of finding those who are most vulnerable, most willing to sacrifice everything for its knowledge. And once it finds them, once it takes root in their hearts, it spreads. Slowly at first, like a whisper in the dark, but then it grows. It grows until the very fabric of reality begins to bend. The monk's voice quivers, filled with a sense of deep, unsettling urgency. The book, it is awakening. Its power has never truly been destroyed, never truly been sealed away. The Vatican may have thought they had buried it, but the book is not like other books. It is not bound by time, by history. It is eternal. And now the ritual, the third night, it has begun once more. You feel the weight of his words settle over you like a dark cloud. The shadows seem to stretch longer in the room, thickening as if something ancient is stirring just beneath the surface. The monk's trembling hands clutch the book as though it is the only anchor keeping him grounded in this world. The entity that was summoned, the one whose name has been forgotten by time, it is not truly gone. It waits, as it has always waited for those foolish enough to seek it again. And once they do, once the ritual is performed, there will be no turning back. The very air feels oppressive now, heavy with the unspoken knowledge that something terrible is about to unfold. The book is the key. The book is the doorway. And those who open it, those who dare to read it, they will not simply learn. They will be changed, transformed. The book has always known this, and it is why it calls out, why it waits. The room seems to hum with a dark energy, the shadows creeping along the walls like living things, reaching for you. The monk's voice shakes as he speaks again, his words slower now, each one lingering in the air like a heavy stone. The Vatican's final fear, the one they could not escape, the one they could not prevent, is the return of the entity that once walked the earth, the one that waits beyond the veil of the living and the dead. When the book is read, when the ritual is performed, it will rise again. There is a long silence, and you feel your heart race, the weight of the truth crashing over you like a wave. The room feels smaller now, suffocatingly so, as if the darkness itself is pressing in from all sides. The monk looks at you then, his eyes filled with something indescribable, a mixture of dread, sorrow, and hopelessness. The book is awakening, child. And when it does, nothing will be the same. There will be no more safety, no more illusions of control. The entity will rise, and the world will tremble. The question is not whether it will come. It is already coming. You feel the pull of the book growing stronger now, its influence seeping into your mind like a poison. The whispers grow louder, calling to you, urging you to turn the pages, to learn what it contains. And yet, a part of you knows that, once you allow the book to reveal its secrets, there is no going back. There is no escaping what you will become once the ritual is completed. The monk's voice is nearly lost now, a mere whisper in the thickening air, as though the very act of speaking is pulling his life from him. The shadows in the room stretch, twisting into dark shapes that slither across the walls, drawn to the book as if it were a beacon. You feel it, don't you? He asks, his voice ragged, barely audible. The call, the whispers, they have already begun. They have already reached you. The knowledge that the book holds is not meant for human minds. It is meant for something else, something older, something that does not belong to this world, the car. Monk shudders, his breath ragged as he continues. There are no answers in the book. There is no salvation, no redemption. There is only the hollowing, the darkening of the soul. The final page, it is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of something far worse. For once the book has taken root, once it has awakened, there is no escaping it. His frail hand reaches for the book, his fingers trembling as he caresses its cover. The Vatican's fear, child, was not just for the power contained within the book's pages. It was for the power of what lies beyond them, the entity that waits for those who open the book, for those who complete the ritual. It is not a god, not a demon, not a force that can be understood by mortal minds. The monk's voice falters as he looks up, his eyes filled with something darker, something more dreadful than you have ever seen. The entity does not simply wait for its summoners. It feeds. It feeds on those who dare to open the book, who dare to learn its secrets. And when it is fully awakened, when the book's pages have been turned, when the final ritual has been completed, it will consume the world, one soul at a time. The air in the room grows thick with dread, heavy as though the darkness itself is pressing in from every corner. The book lies open before you, its pages shimmering, its whispers more insistent, more pleading. You feel its power pulling at your very essence, calling you to open it, to read its final pages. But the monk's words echo in your mind, haunting and terrible. The final page is not a page of knowledge, it is a page of oblivion. Once you turn it, once you reach that point, there is no going back. You will have crossed the line. You will have invited the entity into the world. The monk's eyes lock onto yours, his gaze filled with a sorrow deeper than words can express. You will no longer be the same, child. You will be hollowed out, consumed by the knowledge, by the power, by the entity that waits beyond the final page. There is no salvation. There is no escape. The final page is the beginning of the end. The room feels colder now, as though the very walls are closing in, the air thick with a weight you cannot escape. The book before you seems to pulse, its whispers growing louder, more desperate, as though it knows that the end is near, that its final moment is upon you. You can feel the book's pull deep inside you now, a force stronger than anything you've ever known. It calls to you. It beckons you to turn its final page. Now, let us turn the first page. The room goes silent save for the soft rustling of the pages, and you know with a sudden certainty that the moment of reckoning has come. You are no longer just a witness to this story. You are part of it now. And when you turn the page, when you read what lies beyond the final word, there will be no more secrets, no more mysteries. There will be only the truth, the cold, empty truth that the book has always promised to show you. The book's whispers grow louder, its pull stronger, and the final page awaits. The end is here. The candlelight flickers one last time, as if in hesitation before it gutters and dies, leaving the room in complete darkness. The book, now closed before you, seems to pulse with a life of its own, as though it is waiting for you to make the final choice. The silence in the room is deafening, and you realize, with a slow, creeping dread, that there is no turning back. The monk, now a mere shadow in the dim light, speaks one final time, his voice a hollow echo of its former self. If your candle hasn't gone out yet, you might be ready for the next book, he whispers, his voice weak, filled with a sorrow that you can no longer ignore. The words, so simple, are laced with something darker, something far older than the monk, far older than time itself. You sense the truth that he's been guiding you toward, that he's been whispering of all along. The book, the cursed knowledge it holds, it has already started its work on you. You can feel the change within yourself, that strange emptiness, that hollow space in your soul where the book's curse has taken root. There's no escape from it now. You wonder if you will be the next to disappear into the darkness like those who came before you. The scholars, the priests, the ones who couldn't resist the call of the book. You wonder if your name, too, will be erased from the pages of history, if you will become yet another shadow in the wake of the book's terrible truth. But as the last whisper fades into the empty room, something inside you stirs. Something ancient, something dark. The truth has already been revealed, and with it you now know. There are always more books, always more to uncover, always more to lose. There are more books. There are always more. The words, soft as a breath, come from the shadows. It is not the monk anymore, it is something else, something beyond him, beyond you. Something waiting to be unleashed. You are left alone with the book, its dark pull still strong, and the truth you now know, whether you want to or not. The world outside is waiting for you, or perhaps it is not. Perhaps it never was. The next whisper is older still, but only for those who truly listened. And so you stand at the edge of the abyss, knowing that what lies beyond is as unknowable as the first page of the book, still waiting to be turned. If you dare.